Hi, I'm Stephen Majors with the Alliance for Regenerative Medicine. Today I'm joined at ARM Studios with Diego Correa, the VP and Global Head of the Center of Excellence for Cell and Gene Therapy. Diego, welcome to ARM Studios.
Thank you so much
Great.
for the invitation. Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So let's start out. Just tell me a little bit about what IQVIA does in the cell and gene therapy space for those who might not know.
Perfect. Yes. As you will know, IQVIA is the largest CRO here in the space. But besides just running clinical trials for our sponsors, we have other types of activities that go from all the way down to preclinical and all the way up to regulatory and commercialization space. Really lots of consulting. But the way we have tackled cell and gene therapies in IQVIA is through the creation a few years ago of what we call the Cell and Gene Therapy Center of Excellence, which is just a collection of scientists, professionals in medicine and in operations, clinical operations, that actually help the other teams within IQVIA to put together strategies for sponsors in response for proposals that they're putting together a trial for a cell or for a gene therapy, and they want us to be running their trials. So we put together strategies that involve so many things, as you know. I mean, we can discuss, try to tackle most of the challenges that we have seen in operationalizing these types of trials. So CRO component, consulting component, but goes from all the way down to preclinical to commercialization help and support.
And then in terms of clinical trials, why don't you talk a little bit about trends in cell and gene therapy clinical trials that you're seeing, challenges in recruitment, other things that the community should know?
Sure, absolutely. So we have done so far more than 250 full trials. And that has served us as a platform to understand what are the limitations, the challenges that the sponsors normally face when they're advancing a therapy throughout clinical development and through the life cycle, pretty much. And we can actually divide it maybe 4 or 5 different buckets. One of them is going to be purely medical and scientific, which is related with the protocol itself, the entry criteria, the types of the populations and subpopulations of patients, et cetera, et cetera. Then is identifying the right sites, identify the right PIs, that they have to be trained, the site they have to have some infrastructure, experience, expertise to run these types of trials, because as you may know, not every single hospital in the world is equipped to run these types of trials. So this is another big phase that we actually tackle. And for that, we have put together the Cell and Gene Therapy Site Network, which is, those are hospitals affiliated somehow with IQVIA that we understand how they operationalize, what are their metrics in terms of conducting these trials. We have relationship with these PIs. We have relationships with through people on the ground that actually help navigating these complexities within the site. And in those sites, we use them for operationalizing these trials for our sponsors. So that's in that sector. Then we have patient recruitment, of course. These are patients that are typical from a specific subpopulations. They can be pediatric patients, rare diseases patients, often just diagnosed with specific genotyping for mutations. So they are not patients that are going to be in next door ready to jump into the trial. So it is difficult to find them. So for that, we have put together several solutions to try to understand how we can eventually create sustainable flows of patients throughout the execution of a trial and then during commercialization. Then the third bucket will be logistics. In logistics, as you know, for example, in gene-modified cell therapy, CAR Ts, etc., it's a multi-step process that involves several steps, vein to vein. And each one of these processes is susceptible to failure, susceptible to any flow that, in the end, will affect the therapy for this patient. And most of these patients, of course, are oncological patients, so they don't have time to lose. So the logistics management has to be very tight. And for that, we created a logistics management program within IQVIA that in featuring one position that is an industry differentiator position called logistics manager. It's a person that is trained only to take care of the logistics from vein to vein. Then we have other major challenges in cell and gene therapy, which is the long-term follow-up, which is, of course, is an extended time for getting additional safety for the regulators, trying to understand durability of these therapies. As you may know, that has a significant impact in patient burden. and site burden and financial burden for sponsors. So we have put together, along with real-world solutions in IQVIA, different models on how to minimize this burden and to be more productive, how to increase the quality of a data acquisition. In everything, just using the standards that the regulators are requesting us to do. So those are pretty much an overall buckets of different challenges. And then, of course, this is related with what happens later in the late phases, which is commercialization. So what we try to tell our sponsors is, ask yourselves very detailed questions as early as possible, because that is going to have an impact later on commercialization. For instance, picking the right sites. The right sites is going to be a launch pad for commercialization. We heard yesterday in several of the talks, this is what we call the specific ACTs. Those centers that they know exactly how to manufacture sometimes, or how to use these therapies. So during clinical development, those centers may become the launch pad then in commercialization, because it's going to be a little bit easier for the sponsor to navigate this transition between clinical development and commercialization.
Thank you. And then one of the things that we're really focused on at ARM is the global access component of cell and gene therapy, and then ensuring that ultimately patients outside the US and Europe can access these types of therapies. Given that IQVIA is a global company, what are you seeing in terms of the global expansion of cell and gene therapy?
Also a great question. As a matter of fact, we are very interested in APAC, in Latin America. Why? Because not only they have the capacity of running these trials, but also they have population and lower costs. So, and what we're seeing, and actually there's a recent report by IQVIA Institute about cell and gene therapy specifically in terms of enrollment duration. It's been increased from 2019 to 2023 by 14% duration. We're still, the good news is that we're still below all the therapies, which is about 26%. The demand in clinical trials has also significantly increased. Number of patients per trial, 21% increase. Number of endpoints and entry criteria, about 15%. And the reduction in utilization in different countries, for instance, United States is high. China is almost 60% increase in the activity of cell and gene therapies, while Europe is reducing by 38%. So there is a shift in the geography of where this activity is happening. So we need to be smart enough to identify where these waves of cell and gene therapies trials are coming, and try to go there and help them operationalize these trials. In those geographies are clearly APAC and Latin America.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being on ARM Studios.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Diego.